Hey, glad to be with you. Today, we're going to do something a little different. This has been a long time coming, where a lot of you have likely heard of a couple of dictators throughout history. Probably only one. You're probably familiar with, I'm sure you can guess and comment below, which dictator is most famous. But there are a lot of dictators who've existed throughout the ages, and their body count is in the hundreds of millions. And so we are actually going to go through each and every one today to once and for all determine who is the most, depending how you look at it, who's the worst or most accomplished dictator in the Great Dictator Dic-Off. So look, we have brackets here, but before we get into the brackets, we have 16 seeds today. I'm going to introduce to you, we have here in the studio to help us out, we have our wonderful researchers. We have Ginger Snap Lane. How are you, sir?
Good. Glad
we have George the Greek. Yep, who's there? And then because we're required to, we do have Sam from HR.
This is an HR nightmare. I have to be here to observe all of this Michigas today.
Well, we also just needed a counterbalance because of, what happened to the Jews. So that brings us to our first point here. I think we all agree, Hitler, bad. Hitler, terrible. And that is the dictator you're probably most familiar with. So, purpose for this is, we want you to learn about the other dictators throughout history. This is actually how this started. A lot of young people knew about Hitler. They weren't familiar with Stalin. They weren't familiar with Mao, let alone the atrocities and how many people died. So, again, Hitler, bad. And he's the worst dictator ever. No one even comes close. Hitler, bad. We'll never even consider today, even though we have 16 seeds, even insinuating that anyone is anywhere near as bad as Hitler because he's the worst. And I promise you, no matter what we go through today, that Hitler is still the worst dictator no matter what. However, we think he needs to be included. We'll take him off the board, but we'll include him as the yardstick. We'll measure other dictators by a Hitler rating system.
Yeah, that works.
Let's go through the brackets here. But first, let's take Hitler off the board and bring in our assistant for today.
Guten Tag, Stephen.
Why don't you go ahead and take yourself off the board there, Mein Führer. Yeah, Adolf, let's just take him off. And you know what? Because of that, we had him paired up in a bracket with the Ayatollah Khomeini. We're just going to give him a bye, I think.
Sounds fair.
Wouldn't you guys think so? All right.
He had no shot.
No. Hitler is Hitler is, you can grab a seat there.
Oh, I see you have the perfect game.
Yes.
It's a good gun. I know it very well.
Yes, I do. So the brackets. Let's go through this. We'll bring up the bracket for all of you. We have, the Ayatollah Khomeini obviously gets a bye. He's going to go through to the, that's not the quarterfinals. That's the final 8.
Yeah, so those would be the final Elite 8.
Elite 8.
Yeah, so quarterfinals, whatever you want.
Okay, so we're going to go through the 16. Then we will have the final 8. Then next installment will be the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the winner. Or loser, depending on how you look at it.
Winner?
The people were the losers.
A lot of losers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the people we have are Ayatollah Khomeini. We have Mao Zedong. We're going to be talking about him. We have Idi Amin. Am I saying that correctly?
Apparently.
We have Joseph Stalin. Pinochet is one in there. We have, of course, Benito Mussolini, Saddam Hussein, Nikolai. Sam from HR, you knew the right way to say his last name. Ceausescu. Okay.
I need to meet with Hitler after this is over.
Okay, yeah.
Hello, Juden.
My office after the show.
Ceausescu, Pol Pot, Mobutu. I don't know how to say his last name correctly. Do you know how to say it?
HR Sam probably has this one
Mobutu
too.
Sese Seko.
Okay. Fidel Castro, Kim Jong-il, Hugo Chavez, Ferdinand Marcos, and then the underdog, actually, Papa Doc from Haiti, Duvalier, who I should tell you, we are bringing this to you. It's sponsored by DraftDictators.com, the best betting book in all of Dictators' betting books. And Papa Doc, actually, right now, does seem to be a plus 2,200 underdog to win the Great Dictator.
Yeah, at the very least.
Sounds like a good value.
It's place a couple bucks, see what happens.
Good return. I do love a good underdog.
Well, I don't know if that I would say love. I love how you played the anthem when he sat down also.
Well, of course.
Thank you. So first bracket, we're going to go through this. We have Mao Zedong and Idi Amin. What do you? Let's go through first off, I guess their body count here. Let me make sure I have to cross-reference. All right, because there's a lot of pages of dictators. If someone actually goes through my hard drive, this is going to be a problem. Okay. First, all right, we have Chairman Mao Zedong. Okay, some history here, and all references are available at loudnorthcrowder.com. He was born in Shaoshan County in the Hunan province of China. That's probably like a county and a state. We don't know because we're not Chinese. They list him as 5'11", but I don't buy it. The weight was unknown. Okay, his father was Mao Yichang, was a farmer and a grain dealer, and then his mom was Wen homemaker. He attended Peking University, but he was not formally enrolled and did not graduate. How does that work? Hey, researchers, how does that even work? How was he? He just showed up?
The education system in China is very beneficial to the elites. Xi Jinping went to Tsinghua University and got a doctorate, but never actually wrote any papers.
All right, that makes sense. Obviously, the Chinese Communist Party, which effectively still exists to this day. Accomplishments. Again, we're not passing judgment here. We're just looking at this objectively. And you may not know about all these dictators. Killed millions of his own people. Mao. In 1949, he instituted the Laogai prison system, which was actually modeled after the Soviet gulags. And it was used to transform criminals into new socialist men. The body count... Well, I guess it depends who you use. These numbers, and I understand that there can be a bit of a spectrum, between 20 and 43 million people. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's, I think, even a low estimate, but...
It's a good start.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's more. Hitler, we might as well give the stats here.
Yeah.
Hitler was 12 million total with the Holocaust, and that includes Holocausts, gays, Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know what percentage they made up, and Germans with mental deficiencies. The total number is 12 million. So Mao is actually he's far surpassed the Fuhrer.
Well, he didn't get his hands dirty like I did.
Well, I don't know.
Up to 4 Hitlers.
Yeah, actually, that would be 4 Hitlers. There you go. So we would actually rate Mao, as far as just the body count, 4 Hitlers. And something, too, that happened, a lot of people, I think the reason they don't teach this in school with people like Mao and Stalin, we'll get to Stalin in a little bit, is because, of course, he's a communist. And it wasn't just, Hitler was a psychopath. I'm sorry, Mein Fuhrer, but was psychopath.
I let it pass.
These people were sociopaths. Hitler, obviously, was wrong, but he did, in some capacity, believe that he was looking out for a very small select group of people, the Aryans, and he thought Hitler bad. He thought that the Jews were the problem. He obviously fabricated the idea that they carried with them communicable diseases. But he wasn't just killing all of his own people for no reason. Is it a psychopath who's killing someone who is handicapped, mentally deficient? Yes, absolutely. Sociopath is someone who kills for no reason just because. Basically, human life lost, right? The ends justify the means. And we see that with some of these dictators, like Mao, like Stalin, Pol Pot, certainly, as a percentage of the population was mind-numbing. And some of it was due to incompetence. You know, a little thing with Mao that people don't realize, he had no idea, for example, how to farm. So when you go in and your government takes control over all of the farms, well, guess what happens? Farming doesn't work very well. And there was famine. And he didn't want to take the blame, so he actually blamed the famine on the sparrows at one point. You guys know this story. George the Greek knows this story. So you guys can chime in wherever, because you're obviously the professional.
The four pests campaign.
Yes, the pests came in. He was like, no, it's not piracy. It's sparrow. You kill a sparrow to have all your crop back. So people started killing the sparrows. Now, they were very poor, so they weren't going out. They didn't have bird shot. What they did was they would bang pots and pans so the sparrows couldn't land, and they would plummet from exhaustion, which is a horrible way to go.
Armed with scatterguns, nets, and cooking pots, this proud volunteer force set out to liberate China's skies from the sparrow once and for all.
What happened is, since the sparrows were being killed, the locusts proliferated, and the famine got worse. So now you have a death count in the tens of millions of people due to government incompetence. And that's the problem with concentrating a lot of power in the hands of one person. Anyway. I'm trying to think of what else we want to... Oh, he also, of course, got them embroiled in the China-Korean War. The Great Leap Forward was really what led to the greatest famine that we kind of think of in modern American history. Death toll, 30 million to 45 million is what we have there. And the Cultural Revolution, this is from Stanford University, was millions more. So the percentage of their population was 6.6%. That seems pretty bad.
Well, I think we'll see some bigger numbers later. But
What do you think? What do you think, George the Greek?
Well, I mean, he's not the top. I think he's close.
Yeah.
6.6%.
What?
Remember, China is a very big country. There's lots of people there.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a lot of help he got there.
Yeah, he did. Well, yeah, people with the pots and pans. They came together. So there's some community aspects there. He was married 4 times, had 10 children, which seems like a low number considering 4 wives back then.
Well, like a lot of daughters probably came and went very quickly.
That's probably quite true. Okay, so the numbers are being skewed a little bit. 2 of his sons were killed, and 1 was believed to be schizophrenic, and because of that, never entered politics. But a fun fact, Mao loved swimming. It's not all bad.
Yeah. He's just like us.
Yeah, he's just like you, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea.
If
I
you
don't
swim.
Yes.
If you don't swim, he's really not like you.
So he's probably not like Idi Amin.
Well, he probably wasn't like all of the other dictators because I guarantee. Well, you know what? Papa Doc is actually. Now he's down to a plus 1,600 favorite. So for some reason, the betting lines from draftdictators.com have just changed.
He also had an above ground pool.
He had an above ground pool. Nick Tavalo was in the studio. He was cheap, if nothing else. Didn't want to pay for the installation.
It's
All right.
the era of Mussolini.
Yes, Mussolini. Okay, so we have Mao Zedong, and he is up against Idi Amin. And Idi Amin, George and Ginger Snap, what do we know about Idi Amin? I'm going to try and grab these numbers here.
He's the last king of Scotland.
The last king of... Oh, that's right, Forrest Whitaker with the lazy eye.
Yes.
All right, Idi Amin.
He was a big dude compared to the other dictators.
Yes, he was.
6'4", he could have been a linebacker if he would have had a better childhood.
Yes, if he had a better childhood. He wasn't hugged enough. Idi Amin was, of course, this is what we're talking about, Uganda. Now, I know that you guys probably believe that, the continent of Africa is a land of peace that has never seen any type of conflict before we, from the New World, came in, kidnapped them, and enslaved them. That's not all correct. And by that, I mean none of it is. Still war-torn.
The military is now seeking more cooperation, especially from the locals, to help fight the insurgency.
If you go to Africa today, I don't know if you know, it's not going that well, even in the good parts. So he was actually president for life. He was born in Koboko, Uganda, 225 pounds, 6'4". His father, occupation unknown. No formal education, and he's believed to have only attended school up to 4th grade. So my point is, don't let your education define you. You can still move on to big things. I wouldn't say great things. The body count. What do we have with the body count here for Idi? It's not as high, 80,000 to 300,000. But I'm assuming that the reason we have him in here...
That's nothing.
I'm assuming the reason we have him in here is because of the abject cruelty, right, Idi Amin?
Yeah, we didn't want to concentrate this all in Asia and Europe. We wanted to spread the love around a little bit. See what people were doing in, the African subcontinent.
He did, and speaking of which, he actually expelled a lot of Asians and Indians. I know I repeat myself, which destroyed their economy quite a bit. Turns out they were quite productive in Uganda, and these were unforeseen consequences. And he tortured and killed his own people and launched the Uganda war with Tanzania. So that was kind of a big one. As far as percentage of the population, 2.5% of his total population is who he ended up killing. And so those are rookie numbers. That's less than half of Hitler.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
He's not very favorable in this competition.
No.
Now, something cool about him, though, because it's not all...
Oh, very cool.
He's alleged to have fathered 43 children.
43?
43 children, yeah. I don't think he got that far with Braun. No.
He does have the greatest title.
The what?
The greatest title.
Oh, the boxing?
No, just like his official title here. I mean, I think
read the official title first.
We should. Okay, so Idi Amin, officially, His Excellency, President for Life, Field Marshal Al-Hajj Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC, DSO, MC, Lord of all beasts of earth and fishes, of the sea, and conqueror of the British Empire in Africa in general, and Uganda in particular.
Wow, that is a long...
Wow.
He did
Sounds like a Will Smith song.
And he did all that before the 4th grade.
If you didn't say his whole title, he killed you.
Yeah.
And the amount of medals he could fit on a jacket is very cool.
It is quite impressive.
I mean, if we look over at this chump, what are we doing?
Yeah, I know.
Hey!
It's not even close. Well...
I choose to do this.
Yes.
I keep it clean.
He's quality over
That's
quantity.
that Hugo Boss minimalist look that you got.
I'm clean and green.
Yes, yeah, because you were, if nothing, you were eco-friendly. So I do think that here, actually, this is going to be one of the first rounds. Again, We have 16 seeds. I think we all have to give this one to Mao Zedong. Will we all agree Mao Zedong is going to move on to the final 8? Mind if you could.
Seems like a heavy favorite coming out of round 1.
Mao Zedong does seem like a heavy favorite.
No DEI on this one.
No DEI on this one. And that's right. Idi Amin is gone. No more Idi Amin. That's right. I forgot. Idi Amin. Sorry, we have Nick DiPaolo in the studio for whatever reason.
Off camera, too.
Off camera, he was just like, nah, I want to sit and watch. I was like, I don't think you want to see this. And he saw what was going on. I said, I think I do. Idi Amin drank a glass full of his own urine every morning to start off the day.
Oh.
So the best part of waking up was him and his cup.
6'4", 225. I don't know.
The best part of waking up is pee-pee in your cup.
Well, it must have done him some good because he was the former British Army light heavyweight boxing champion in the 1950s and 1960s.
It's all that piss.
Yeah.
There's fourth grade education.
Fourth grade education, drank his own urine, killed at least 80,000 people. No notes on his swimming ability, but I'll let you make your own inferences. Uganda. And, look, it's not really fair because we could have put him up against Pinochet in another bracket, and maybe he would have made it through, but that's the nature of doing a tournament.
Life is hard, comes at you fast.
Yes, it does. All right, let's...
If you don't look around a little bit, you might miss it.
The Great Dictator, the Great Dictator Dic-Off, everybody. So let's go through the next brackets. Mein Führer, we're going to put up on the board Joseph Stalin is going to be going up against Augusto Pinochet of Chile. And then underneath that, we will have your old buddy, Benito Mussolini and Saddam Hussein. So, Yep. So,
I
Joseph
knew Saddam
Stalin,
when he was just a baby. Oh, you meant Stalin.
Joseph Stalin, no, he was your old rival. Augusto Pinochet, Benito Mussolini, and Saddam Hussein. Let's go to Stalin here, actually. And this is one that, this was the inspiration for this entire charade that you see. Yeah, you can keep the song a little lower. I know that we have to respect the pop and circumstance, but...
might get a copyright strike.
Yeah, we might get a copyright strike.
I know Warner Brothers is big. I'm
gonna get rid of the pages I'm not using anymore because I don't want this around. Stalin. A lot of people we asked they were not familiar with Stalin at all, and of course that's interesting because Stalin, Hitler, same period of time. Stalin certainly killed more people. But if you spend all of this time learning about Adolf Hitler in school, you would think that you would learn just as much about Stalin. Please comment below how much you know about Joseph Stalin, how much you know about what had taken place in Russia back then. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting if we want to get into. We can get rid of the Ayatollah Khomeini and Mao because, yes, we'll be finishing up that bracket. And you can place your bets right now at draftdictators.com. Stalin, of course, you can go back to what was happening there with Lenin and with Trotsky and kind of this jockeying for power. And Stalin was seen as more of a doer, less of an intellectual. They didn't respect him as much, but of course,
stupid.
Often when you have men of just what they would consider power, they'll step over the pseudo-intellectuals. But this really, you're just 1 or 2 degrees removed from the founder of the feast, Karl Marx.
The two revolutionaries fought the Tsarist regime under pseudonyms. Joseph Vissarionovich Djugasvili called himself Stalin, the man of steel. He had it all figured out. And Lev Davidovich Bronstein hid under the name of Leon Trotsky.
It's interesting, kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's what we saw in World War II. And of course, that led us into the Cold War. And, we never really soothed relations with Russia.
Where is Karl Marx from?
Karl Marx, that would be Karl Marx is German, but he had the major influence, of course, in Russia.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, okay, I guess you have your fingerprints on everything. Like Dominic Strauss-Kahn. He felt up interns, Dominic Strauss-Kahn. That was a deep cut.
Oh.
Let me go to Stalin. Stalin is page, what are we talking here?
We got
what?
Page 12.
Page 12?
Yeah.
Now here it says number 5. All right.
He's a 5 seed.
Oh, he's a 5 seed.
I don't know how he fell to a 5 seed. That seems like the selection committee was a little bit biased there.
Yeah, and
maybe there was a few Kazakhs in the selection committee that have a little bit of a grudge to heart.
People from the Caucasus Mountains. I don't know why we have them stick their oar in. They're always trying to. Caucasus.
Putin would say the same thing.
That's true. Joseph Stalin was born Losep Djugashvili. How do I say that?
Djugashvili.
It's so disturbing that you have that at the ready, Sam from HR.
I did a report on Stalin when I was in the 5th grade.
Really?
Yes, I did.
I bet you made a lot of friends.
Don't believe him.
Yeah, no, I don't trust him. Wait, no, not for the reasons you don't.
Oh.
So he was, surprising to me, only 143 pounds, Joseph Stalin. And Joseph Stalin, the body count is what's most significant. It's 20 million people minimum, Joseph Stalin, which is just, again, let's just rate it. That's 2 Hitlers. That's a full 2 Hitlers, at least. At minimum 2 Hitlers. And it is estimated that it could be as high as 30 or 40 million, depending on which kind of scholarly articles you would reference. But at least 20 million. And of course, this was largely due to, again, the ineptitude of communism, the ineptitude of a top-down approach, and people not really being capable of keeping up with the supply, the demand, farming not working. This is the utopia that you end up seeing. And Mao, Stalin, very similar. We'll get to Pol Pot. These are people who all followed, really to the letter, the same ideology. They had different implementations. Whereas Hitler, kind of, would it be fair to say Hitler was a one-off? As far as, it wasn't like you had a bunch. I mean, you had Mussolini, yeah, of course, but he was just kind of a joke.
Wannabe.
Yeah, he was kind of a wannabe. They sort of used him as a patsy for the higher-ups. But it's not the same as an idea that really was encroaching across the entire globe. This was somewhat contained. You look at these things that had taken place, China, Russia, and a lot of it was happening simultaneously. Sometimes they sort of passed the baton. So the percentage of the population of Russia, up to 30% of the population of Russia. So that's compared to Hitler's 6. You're looking at, if we do the math, that's at least 4. We're talking about 4 Hitlers. If we're going to round it,
okay.
4 Hitlers. 4 Hitlers, Joseph Stalin. He also helped create the secret police force, and his true birth date and leaving the seminary unknown. So he's a mystery, bit of an enigma. But he sure kicked your ass.
Hey, that is not kind because he had a lot to help.
Yeah, well, I didn't understand what you just said.
You know what? English is new to me.
Such a little guy, too.
I know.
125-pound Joseph Stalin.
And this is an interesting through line that you see. He purged the country of. So you see, obviously, what happened. And Hitler bad. Hitler's terrible. Just to be clear, Hitler's really bad.
Now.
Look.
Very bad.
I'll give you, yeah. I mean, you know, in your mind, you're so bad, you're good. To the rest of us, you're just bad. But you'll see this as a through line. They would purge their country. For example, Stalin, not, for example, just Jews. It wasn't just ethnic cleansing. This is where we've talked about this today, where you see identity politics, right? It's not just through the lens of race, but you'll see it as oppressors and the oppressed. Well, with communism, it was really about the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, the ruling class. And at that point, it was anyone who was if you're American, upper middle class, you would be seen as ruling class in Russia because everyone else is in a breadline. So he purged the country of, and I have the list here, not only former landowners, but doctors, academics, and military officials. That's how that death count balloons out of control. You create famine, you basically end up creating the perfect petri dish where people can contract these diseases, and you've gotten rid of doctors. You've gotten rid of medical professionals. Oh, wait, you have famine? Well, who do you think a lot of the former landowners were? A lot of them were farmers. When the government steps in and says, we're taking your farm, and that can be applied to anything. It could be the government stepping in saying, we're taking your banks. We're taking your manufacturing. We're taking your internet. You declare something to be a fundamental human right, for example, like access to everyone else's land. Guess what? It's now only the government's right. And you see that with Stalin and Mao. Very, very similar. That was one thing when we were going through the research. Very similar, not only in the death, kind of the body count, but what they did and how they approached it.
Yeah, like you said, it's the original DEI, the original identity politics. And it was the identity slightly changed to where we are now, but it's the exact same methodology, it's the exact same ideology that's purveying that always ends up the same with Mao and Stalin, with millions of people dying.
Right. Yeah. Now, we have another one to go with Stalin, and this is one that you may hear more often because the left likes to parrot this, because it's kind of one fascist who they point to who actually was right-wing. I'll give you that. And that's Augusto Pinochet. Now, I want to be very, very clear, just as clearly as I have said Hitler bad. Pinochet, bad in most ways, right? But can we all agree that he wasn't all wrong? Pinochet?
Who was he killing?
Margaret Thatcher loved him.
Can I get a little what? Little bit for Pinochet? Now, let me clarify here. Pinochet, he was really, his education was the Chilean Military Academy, and I just forgot who was the name of the man who he preceded.
Allende, but you could probably
Allende.
pronounce it. Yeah.
Allende, was it like it was Georgia? I forgot the middle name. Something Giorgiando, Fernando.
Salvador Allende.
Salvador, but he had a middle name. There was Salvador something, or was it Salvador Orlando Allende? He was a communist, just to be clear. Now, this is pretty interesting. Guillermo?
Salvador Guillermo.
Salvador Guillermo. His name is my name, too. Also, I, too, at one point was thrown from a helicopter. But I lived because I'm a deity. That's another through line you'll see today. Chile was really one of those countries that was very, very poor. And if you look today, if you go to Chile, you'll still have a lot of people who actually say, you know what, we kind of would like a Pinochet-like figure today. And the reason for that is this was a country that was basically under the rule of socialism, communism. Pinochet did come in, take advantage of a coup, and he did kill people, but he wasn't on a large scale targeting citizens. He was targeting communists. He was targeting people who he believed had actually destroyed the economy. Now, of course, did he embezzle millions of dollars? Yes, because you know what? At that point, you know you're going to get yours. So he got some of his embezzled $28 million. Again, not good. I just don't know that we can compare him necessarily to Stalin. The body count is really only 3,000 people. Right? 3,000 people. 3,000 people who just
say MOB, money over bodies.
Yeah. Well, he did get some money, but a lot of these people were former Communist Party heads. They would go on a helicopter ride and just never come back.
Labor union.
Yes, labor unions. And then 130,000 people were arrested. They were put in jail without due process. Allegedly, 35,000 people were tortured. But as far as percentage of his population with Pinochet, 0.2%. That doesn't even show up on our Hitler radar.
Never heard of the guy.
And something else for a dictator. What was that? I heard someone stomping.
I said he should be ashamed.
Oh, okay.
Such loser numbers.
Well, here's another thing, too, with a dictator. I don't think we have anyone else here who stepped down from power in our brackets. In the 1990s, he stepped down, but he was a senator for life from 1998 to 2002. So this is kind of what ended up happening. Allende tried to transition this Chilean economy to a Marxist-Leninist one. And people were starting to reject it, and people were becoming impoverished. People were definitely starving, and Pinochet came in and said, we're not going to do that anymore. Corruption, yes. Yes. Fascist, yes. But if you look during that period of time, they were calling it the Chilean experiment because it was now becoming one of the most successful, one of the wealthiest countries in all of South America. And that largely happened as far as citizens, business owners. Not everyone. He did help pick winners and losers, and of course that's wrong and corrupt. But it certainly was more of a free market economy than before. And he was targeting people who he viewed, and sometimes selected in a corrupt way, as those who would be interfering with the private exchange of goods and services. So fascist, yeah, I don't really know that it's fair to put him in dictator here.
So it's kind of like the Jamie Kennedy experiment?
Sure. That's a dated reference, cool. But it's in between your dates and today, so I don't know how you...
Did you get MTV in the bunker?
Did you get it? Did you? I'm trying to see what else we have. The reforms, by the way, from Pinochet. They did cut hyperinflation, which was near 400% in the early 70s, to single digits by the 1980s.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Their GDP increased 5% annually for a while. But I think if you're comparing Pinochet and Stalin, I think there's no comparison. One doesn't even show up with the Hitler meter. So let's move on. Joseph Stalin. Pinochet is knocked out.
You do see a lot of similarities in Pinochet's approach to Javier Milei's now, but you kind of get the good without the helicopter rides.
Yes, I mean there could be some.
But
we don't know.
Economic liberalization and making the government smaller, it's very similar in the way they're approaching similar economic situations with hyperinflation and unemployment and all that.
Yes, and I do think that Chile is very, it's interesting to compare. We actually probably should have put them in the same bracket, but to Hugo Chavez, where Chavez, you have a place like Venezuela that has all kinds of economic advantages. I mean, oil-rich nation and drives it into poverty, as opposed to Chile, where it was in poverty, and for whatever mostly bad, Pinochet did bring it out of the dark ages economically, and so that's where you have people today say, you know what, not all of it was bad. If you go to Chile, they might have to mutter it quietly, but you have to. In a lot of South American countries, your choice is communist guerrillas or fascists sometimes. Unfortunately, it's not good, but that's the reality. And Pinochet, we had Benito Mussolini. That's your old buddy, Benito.
You got page 17 from Mussolini.
Hey, the Italians are in the house. Yeah. Remember when you didn't want to be on my team? I brought him over. We did a trade.
So, Benito Mussolini, 5'6", 154 pounds. His dad was a blacksmith. His mother was a school teacher. He attended the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. Am I saying that right, Sam from HR?
I believe so.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for the input.
See what I was talking about?
Yeah.
He returned constantly.
In his youth, fun fact with Mussolini, stabbed a pupil with a knife and attacked a teacher at a boarding school. So, I mean, and he's 5'6". He's basically a human Chucky doll.
Showed promise early.
He did. He showed promise early. I've told you this. Look, crazy beats big most times. And so Mussolini had that going for him. The Italian Fascist Party was his party. And this is something that's pretty interesting, right? People say fascist. What did he impose in Italy? Socialism. Socialism in Italy. They try and separate. If you actually run a Google search, I don't know what the definition is right now. They'll say socialism, communism. They won't tell you that it's necessarily left wing. Once upon a time, at least on Google, and I believe they even changed it with Merriam-Webster, fascism was inherently right wing. Well, hold on a second. We've just gone through a bunch of dictators and fascists, and we'll continue to go through them. Most of them are communists or socialists. I think the only exception as far as truly being right wing as we would know would probably be Pinochet. Right? Compared to, I mean, I know if we're talking about Idi Amin, but let's be honest, the guy didn't make it past the 4th grade.
These are decidedly leftist policies.
These are decidedly leftist policies, which cannot be enacted if not for fascism.
Correct.
Body count from Mussolini. What we have here is about 2,000 political opponents killed, 25,000 killed or maimed in the Second Italo-Ethiopian War. And, of course, you have the soldiers killed during World War II. So the percentage of the population is 2%. So, again, we're talking about that's less than a third of a Hitler.
0.3 Hitler, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like a little Hitler.
Pretty good math.
A little one.
He was, yeah, it's a very small, it wouldn't even show up on our Hitler scale.
Underachieved.
He was sort of a sad character, Mussolini, right? During World War II, they kind of would go, yeah, we need someone out there, Mussolini, and then they just threw him under the bus as soon as they had to. He wasn't very respected. Kind of wrong place, wrong time.
Threw him right under the panzer.
Yes, we did. You did.
Overrated.
And after he was shot with his mistress, who was Claretta Peteschi, they were strung up by their feet on April 28th, 1945 in a square in Milan, and then they were disfigured by an angry mob. So
Nice.
yeah, they got theirs finally. I guess someone finally heard the people. So Mussolini against, this is a good one, Saddam Hussein. And this is interesting because Saddam Hussein, it depends on the Saddam to whom you're referring. It depends on a different era in history. At one point was seen as sort of an ally to the United States, and then of course became, I don't want to say ally, one point was useful. And this is important too as we go throughout history. You'll see the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And people will try and use that to paint the United States as the only corrupt nation. But if you look at all these dictators, they too had alliances that really were completely inconsistent if you add it up over time. So Saddam Hussein, 6'2", 190, that's a good size for a dictator.
Yeah.
That's a cruiser.
You get the best food. So
Yeah.
we would expect to be a little bigger than the population.
It's a cruiserweight. You know, when they found him in his little hole in the ground, he had Marvel comic books, and he had Raisin Bran Crunch, not Raisin Bran. Raisin Bran Crunch, which, by the way, is far better than Raisin Bran. It's an entirely different cereal.
Who do you think he was his favorite superhero?
I think he actually liked Captain America.
No.
Yes, he did. He liked he did. He liked the Avengers.
I would have guessed Black Panther.
Yeah. No, I don't think. I think he was also probably racist. So.
Yeah.
Of course, the death of hundreds of thousands of people, Saddam Hussein. He was a law school dropout, I should tell you. So there's really no rhyme or reason if you're looking for a through line with education. Some only made it to the 4th grade. Some were educated in Switzerland. And some just kind of went to law school, like law schools, like a phase, like art for you or torn Levi's for some.
Yeah, that was a lifelong passion, but...
Yeah, but not schooling necessarily. So he was involved, obviously, both Gulf Wars, the Iran-Iraq War, and tortured and killed hundreds of thousands of his own citizens. As far as the body count with Saddam Hussein, believed to be about 750,000. Again, this is tough because a lot of different sources have different accounts. That's 3.9% of the population. So that's...
about half a Hitler.
It's about half a Hitler.
Yeah.
It's about half a Hitler.
And he had a specific enemy, the Kurds.
Yeah, we did have an enemy, the Kurds. Yes, that's true. And they, by the way, a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people in the Middle East, of course, the Arabic world, big allies to the Nazis because they too didn't like the Judens.
No, they don't like them.
No.
Did you hear that? Never mind. They killed one.
Who? What?
Never mind.
Okay.
Secret Hitler business.
Okay, secret Hitler business. Yeah.
I guess you had to be there.
Yeah, I guess. Well, you probably took that with you to Argentina until Tim Kennedy found you. So,
Allegedly.
Saddam was a distant. Fun fact, trivia here, very distantly related to Muhammad by his lineage. What?
Draw him.
Wrong?
Draw.
What do you mean?
Muhammad.
Oh, a draw?
Don't do it.
No, I'm not. Oh, I thought you said it was a draw, like it was a draw, like as far as worse, just because it's related to
your
Muhammad.
prevalence to want to draw the prophet.
Oh yeah. No, I haven't. I've never drawn.
Got
the
an
prophet.
HR guy. I'm just trying.
Bob Ross did, and we've not had him on the show again.
Good point.
Yeah, we've never had him on the show again. One more time, but he wasn't. I told him, hey, I don't give a shit about your estate. I said, you take that on down the road, Mr. Ross.
Well, if at all possible, please avoid drawing the Prophet Muhammad or other religious figures or deities.
No, I absolutely will not.
If at all possible.
I get it. I understand. So he was related to Muhammad via the lineage of the Albu Nasir tribe. And, of course, that was, I guess the founder of Saddam's tribe was a son of Muhammad's daughter, Fatima. All right, there you go. And I think I may have, I don't know who I drew here, but you guys can just make a little info. You guys can make, right there.
Stephen.
It's just,
like this guy.
it's just a stick figure with the, he's got thick hair. So, Saddam Hussein and Benito Mussolini, I've got to say, and of course we have draftdictator.com. Who would you guys? I would say that Saddam should maybe move through just because a much longer reign.
Yeah, longevity has to be taken into account.
It has to be taken into account, right? It does account for something. I would say. Does anyone? You guys disagree? Let's. You know what? I say.
And we could forgive the numbers a little. I mean, they don't keep records like the Germans, so it could be a little bit more.
Compared to who's more consequential, I would say Saddam Hussein left a bigger mark than Mussolini.
Yeah, well, feet first is a reason because of him. I think.
Yes, that's right. So
I would agree.
With Saddam?
No.
What?
Mussolini.
Wait, what's the knife incident? Of course you're Italian. What is it, Nick?
Didn't he try to stab his teacher?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
We said he showed promise.
You just brought up Mussolini.
Yes.
I'm saying that doesn't weigh for anything.
No, it does weigh for something, but I don't think that has the same global impact as Saddam's, 3 wars. I mean, he tried to stab his teacher with a butter knife. It's shitty.
Oh, the butter knife?
Well, it wasn't. I'm exaggerating. Could have been the edge of a ruler. You ever do that when you were a kid? Take out the metal edge of your ruler? Yeah, that's right. Or a protractor. No, protractor. Yeah, protractor. That was giving kids weapons. No. Yeah, I'm not.
Spoon.
This is a tough one. Mussolini and Saddam. I'm going to say Saddam should probably move on just because of how long his sort of reign went on. And he was propped up by other people who saw him as a useful idiot. 2 kind of useful idiots, actually.
We had a picture of him in our living room.
Yes. They had a mural. So I will say, I think Saddam, anyone, if you think Mussolini?
Yeah, no one starved to death in Italy. Let's be real.
Well, you're Greek, so I would have thought you'd want to.
So I helped.
That's true. Well, that's the thing. He was riding Hitler's coattails,
He was
Mussolini.
riding the coattails. These ones right here.
Yeah, he was riding the coattails, Mussolini. You guys can comment below on who you think should be making it in. Who, Mussolini? No, I understand.
I'm a cool guy.
I understand.
That's a bad loss.
That's a bad loss.
That's a big
to the
L. Let's
Greeks.
be real.
Come on, yeah, it's tough to do. So you know what? We're going to move Saddam Hussein on to the final 8.
Bracket's really shaping up.
The bracket's really shaping
Power
up.
players in there.
So the next, no, you're not. Your job's not done, Chancellor.
Yeah.
The next 2 brackets are Nikolai Ceausescu and Pol Pot.
Uh-oh.
Who, by the way, I think Pol Pot may win this entire thing. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of people. How much do you know about Pol Pot? And this is a good time to comment as any. How much do you know about these dictators and their history and their reigns? A lot of people don't know about anyone other than this guy right here.
This
because
guy's handsome.
I got an update on draftdictators.com. Pol Pot entered at a 10-1.
He entered a 10-1.
Yeah, so
entered a 10-1
futures. So
and I don't know word on Papa Doc right now, but you can go and check the betting line. Papa Doc obviously is the dark horse in all of this.
That's the guy from 8
That's
Mile,
racist.
yeah?
Literally.
Yes, yes, he is. And then the other bracket is going to be Mobutu and Fidel Castro.
Mobutu. I was more of a fan of Mobutu 3. And who else?
Fidel Castro.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
is a good beard.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Not my style, but
So this is the one I'm probably least familiar with. I had to spend some time with this, and I can never, Ceausescu? How am I saying it, Sam from HR? Ceausescu. All right. And if you guys probably are more familiar with him. Who's the big Nikolai fan here?
HR Sam.
HR Sam? All right. That's
the only Nikolai I like is Cage.
He is a national treasure. So Sam from HR, what do you, what is it that you admire about Nikolai?
Well, I have a unrequited dream that I would have a cult of personality with me, being that people see me as unremarkable. So Nicolae Ceausescu, when he was the dictator of Romania, plastered his face and his image on everything. He also tried to enrich himself a lot, though, so he exported a lot of agricultural products from Romania to other countries, which unfortunately killed thousands of his own people.
Yes, it did. It was an unfortunate result. Wait, I'm sorry. Did you just say that you view yourself as like a kindred spirit with him because you said you're because like Nikolai was really good looking.
I think I look a little better than Ceausescu. You know, my hair is still brown, and I don't know, kind of dashing figure.
Okay,
it's looking a little gray.
Okay,
and that.
All right. No,
but also
one fact about Nikolai. Yes, Nick DiPaolo's in the corner.
He invented the T-shirt cannon.
He invented the T-shirt cannon.
This guy's funny.
Well, Mobutu invented the giant foam hand.
We are number 2. That's what he said.
I don't know if I'm so glad that we went with this bit, or if it's one of my life's deepest regrets.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
He gives this guy a wireless remote.
The what?
The wireless microphone.
Oh yes, yeah. By the way, Toolman Tim, he's Sicilian. He has a sickle cell gene. We found out.
It's true.
Thank God you dodged that bullet though, because that would have been passed down, and you're good.
Yeah.
You're safe.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Back to Nikolai, however you pronounce, of Romania. The body count from Nikolai is 60,000, right? 60,000 people, Sam from HR?
Yes, that's how many he's believed to have killed, although, as you know, the communists aren't good record keepers.
Right. And, well, that's true. And he also, of course, this ties into the eco movement. This is why you may not necessarily know about a lot of these people. Had some policies on population growth. Well, in this case, did he want them to breed more?
Yes, he believed that that they had an obsession with more Romanians and children are the future of the country. However, it got out of control. You had, of course, with famine and other things going on, led to unfortunately, a lot of orphans in Romania. Yeah. And after Ceausescu was deposed in the late 80s, the population actually went down because people were trying to get the hell out of Romania.
Well, that makes sense, because I think he was the only person who said the world needs more Romanians.
Isn't Andrew Tate in Romania?
He's in Romania now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently they have good delivery.
We're gonna have probably some more orphans.
So 0.2%, and of course that's a little bit of a backlash too. There's a lot of if you look at a lot of communist nations, they believe in curbing population quite a bit, which we'll get to. The communist regimes, of course, as you see in China, and which led to the one-child policy. So then you have smaller countries like Romania where they say, you know what, we want to have more Romanians, and just the unforeseen consequences, whether it's famine because you get rid of all the farmers, or whether it's just, hey, all you people better get to fornicating. Next thing you know, it's not sustainable.
I love that show, Curb Your Population.
Yep.
Well, communists are climate change heroes, after all.
Yes, communists are climate change heroes because they get rid of, a lot of carbon. That's one less carbon isotope, if I'm using that correctly.
Yes.
And
Maybe.
he built the massive People's Palace as his residence in Bucharest. The building is 276 feet tall. It has 3.9 million squares of floor space.
Wow.
Square feet of floor space. I said squares, but square feet of floor space in Romania. That's like a third of the country.
That's a lot.
So we have him, and of course we have Fidel. No, wait, sorry. Yeah, now we have Mobutu and Sisi Seko. Okay, we have to get to Mobutu. Sorry. Where's Mobutu? Which page is it?
Well, we got Pol Pot right now.
Don't forget Pol Pot.
Wait, oh, I didn't do Pol Pot. I'm sorry.
You've been looking forward to that.
I've been looking at Pol Pot for a while. How much do you know about, and by the way, I don't like Pol Pot, just like Hitler bad, just to be clear. Hitler is bad and Pol Pot is bad. We say looking forward because I think so many people don't. Have you heard the term the killing fields? That's Pol Pot. He was the worst of the worst, and we'll get to. I don't know if it was the highest as far as percentage of population.
Yeah,
it is definitively the highest was Pol Pot. So
Not
obviously, and something else too. Before Pol Pot, there were areas of Cambodia that had resorts where people like Frank Sinatra, the Rat Pack, would go down. It was sort of seen as the crown jewel of Asia in a lot of ways. Cambodia. So what was that?
I love those guys.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You're not going to like how this turns out. So, Pol Pot, Cambodia. They list him as 5'9", but let's be honest, that's like professional wrestling stats. That's inflated. His father, ironically, was a farmer, and his mother, we don't really know a whole lot about his mother, had some distant connections with the royal family. He graduated through Roman Catholic primary school. Then he went to France on an engineering scholarship after the war. And, of course, the political party, you guys probably only know this in relation to the Vietnam War, the Khmer Rouge, right? And that helped create an environment with a lot of instability as far as Cambodia, right? It was sort of embarrassing to the United States what had been allowed to flourish, sort of in the, I guess I should say, in the tailwind of the Vietnam War, and that's a big part of what led to Pol Pot.
There's an argument to be made, and I'll make it.
Yeah.
That Henry Kissinger is directly responsible for the rise of Pol Pot.
A lot of people have made that argument. You think so?
I don't think killing 150,000 Cambodian civilians for no gain did little to inspire the people to rise up around kind of that revolutionary force.
And what was the reason for Kissinger?
Well, he thought that's where the South Vietnamese insert like the communist sympathizers and then the North Vietnamese Viet Cong. They thought they were kind of taking refuge in Cambodia, so he carpet bombed the absolute shit out of Cambodia.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I know that guy. How is he doing?
Mr. Kissinger?
Yeah.
He doesn't look well.
Oh. That's too bad.
Yeah.
He instituted Pol Pot the Year Zero policy, which killed a huge portion of the population. And Year Zero, to explain to you what this was kind of trying to completely get rid of. It was replace old Cambodia with new Cambodia. What was new Cambodia? A communist utopia with Pol Pot. It was, nope, we're going to do things completely different. So you would think, oh, Vietnam, Kissinger, people trying to fight, if you're talking about Vietnam, well, then you just end up creating these super communists. So he came to power there. Cambodians from towns, cities, they were expelled to work in the countryside. This is something that they don't often tell you about socialism and about communism. When you look at it historically put into practice, it relies on a very, very robust workforce, and you do the job that you are told to do. Doesn't matter if you have an aptitude for it. You go out there and you start farming. Oh, wait a second, you're a professor? No, now you're a farmer. And he specifically would target people who he viewed as intellectuals because he saw them as largely useless in a communist society. They want a society effectively of serfs. They want a society of people who will do the work that the people in positions of power tell them to do. So money, private property, religion, all abolished. That's another through line you'll see with communist fascist dictators. People say religion is the cause of all wars. We'll add up the death count here, and it's pretty obvious that that's not the case. I mean, human beings there'll be conflict no matter what. They'll fight over land, they'll fight over resources. Sure, sometimes it's religion. Sometimes it's ideas that can be secular, like communism versus capitalism. But you do see with Mao, with people like Stalin, with Pol Pot, these were people who had deeply held hatred for what you would view as traditional Christian values of the Western world. Intellectuals were targeted, so teachers, lawyers, doctors, and something else, he would send you out to the fields, which basically was a death sentence. If you were a lawyer, for example, you worked until you died. He would also target people who wore glasses. Which brings me to another point with Pol Pot. He didn't even try to hide that he was an idiot. He just, glasses, oh, people will assume you're smart. Let's send you out. Let's vilify people with glasses. Sort of like the old stereotype, nerd, glasses. He actually implemented that as policy. You wear glasses, you're going out to the killing fields. I don't know how many people know about that. To me, it blew my mind when I heard about that and thought, why didn't I learn about this in school, especially considering that I wore glasses?
What about during the solar eclipse?
I have no idea I don't know if they had them back then, but that would have been a welcome respite if they were working out in the killing fields, I would imagine.
Was this before context?
This is before. I don't know how he treated people with astigmatism. but I would imagine he was none too kind. And there were the obviously the mass graves. That's the killing fields. This is something else. The killing fields were home to something known as the killing tree, which was where they killed babies and children. And this is something else too. When you start creating a communist utopia, everything relies on like we've said, a top-down approach. And now it just becomes about efficiency, where violence is fine. It's just a means to an end. And if you are not fit, if they see you as being a burden or a drain on the system, at a certain point they say, we've got to remove the drains. We've got to remove the burdens. Why? This is a big difference too between free enterprise, where people say, get your slice of the pie. In free enterprise, you can bake more pies. For example, one point, really, Ford was the only person providing any kind of an automobile. Before that, we were talking about the horse and buggy. Then you get a few different companies. Now you have Tesla. Now you have more. These are new pies that have been baked that have created new methods of employment that really, through innovation, is how we've solved a lot of our first world problems. A lot of these people are still in the third world. And they're in the third world because you can't bake any more pies. There's a fixed amount of pie. We're not innovating. This is a communist nation. You see this really clearly with Cambodia. And so, hold on a second, there's only so much to go around. Let's start killing the babies who may have disabilities. Let's start killing the children who we think we can no longer support. And this is why I say there's a difference between a psychopath and a sociopath. Hitler didn't just kill babies for the sake of it. It wasn't just violence. He actually deeply, personally, he didn't have the stomach for violence. Hitler bad. Hitler absolutely terrible. But he had created in his mind an environment where Jews were subhuman. These were seen as enemies. It's the difference between fighting a war. Now, this is a psychopath. He's warped it in his mind where he's at war with Jews and a percentage of the population, right? Fighting a war versus murdering your own family in their sleep. That's what you see with some of these communist regimes. It really is sick where you're not even able to understand necessarily the mindset behind it unless you read Karl Marx, unless you read Lenin, unless you understand the ideology and go, oh, throw more bodies at it. That's fine because it's for the greater good. The greater good is not to protect your nation. The greater good is simply to create a utopia, no matter how many people die. And Pol Pot really didn't care about that. Pol Pot was a sadist. And as far as the body count, 30 million people, Pol Pot, that's 30% of his population.
Wow.
30% of his population. Think about that.
In 4 years.
In 4 years. Very short amount of time. What's the math on that as far as how many Hitlers?
Almost 3, right?
Yeah. No, it's
36.
It's about 4.
No, that's about 4. No, 6 times 6 is 36.
Oh, I was talking about the body count. Because body
it's
count,
like 4. It's like about almost 5. 4 or 5. Call it 4.5 Hitlers. Right. 4.5 Hitlers. I'm forgetting the Hitler number. I believe it was 6 point something percent.
Yeah.
So there you go. You were shown up there by a tiny Cambodian.
Well, good for him.
Well,
there is a lot of parallels with today, by the way, when we talk about this year zero thing. Look at the education, how big cities are getting rid of specialized schools. Exceptionalism is bad. Everybody's got to be the same at the lowest rung.
Yeah, that's a good point. Same thing. I mean, you apply it to education, what you apply to the economy. It's, hey, we're all the same. Well, yeah, we're all poor. We're all struggling in breadlines, or as Bernie Sanders referred to it, a good thing. So his real name actually, Saloth Tsar, or Tsar, means white, pale, right? That's true, Sam from HR, because of his complexion at birth. And then Pol Pot means original Cambodian. So I think it's pretty clear here Pol Pot's going to be going through, but let's get to, so you can do it all at once. I don't have to keep getting up and sitting down and getting up and sitting down.
Okay.
You've been on your feet for a long time, so I'd imagine you're quite tired. We'll go to...
Zafira never gets tired.
Zafira never gets tired. That's what I've heard. Also got 11 holes in one in golf.
I've been doing meth all morning.
11 holes in one.
He's been doing meth all morning. Well, you know what? That's what they...
I'm freaking wired, man.
Yeah, that's what they had.
So that's what.
And they mixed it with... What were you thinking? You mixed it with morphine and heroin.
It's a good time. We call that the German speedball.
Yeah, well, I guess it finally heard you.
We call that the Wienerwurst.
That's not what you call it. That's not what you called it. It's just...
We call it that.
Okay. Who am I to judge? Who am I? I don't know. I don't know what they called it. I'm not up to date with the old-timey Nazi drug nomenclature.
You really should brush up on your research.
I really should brush up. Mobutu. His name, you're going to like this, George Greek. All-powerful warrior who, because of his endurance and inflexible will to win, goes from conquest to conquest, leaving fire in his wake. That's what his name, because it's Mobutu Sese Seko Nuku Nbendu Waza Banga, which just sounds made up. If it means all that.
I like names that are direct and to the point.
Yes. I need my little orphan dictator decoder pen.
Yeah, Pol Pot cuts right to the chase.
Pol Pot cuts right to the chase. If nothing else,
What was his real name, Pol Pot?
It meant white and pale. Sloth Tsar. Yeah, Sloth Tsar.
It was Pole Smoker Pothead.
Hey.
Jealousy.
This guy thinks he's better than me?
Well, I don't think. No, we think he's better than you. What were you saying there, George Degree?
Well, I said it sounds like a little jealousy there.
Yeah, it does sound like it. By the way,
maybe it's envy.
Every time the chancellor speaks, the researchers do this. You can't see them off camera. They're going, never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd make a living like this. So the political, Mobutu, we just kind of had to put him in here to fill out the bracket. He embezzled between $4 billion and $15 billion during his quote unquote reign. And he set the development of the country back by a century. I'm trying to think of when his era was. What was
mid-90s? Well, 90s.
Yeah. So you have to think about this. This is what people need to understand too. This is post, Zaire, right? Muhammad Ali went and he was in Zaire. That was a big deal, right there.
Yeah.
Ali, Boombaye, Ali, Boombaye. Was Zaire? Was that Foreman?
Yeah.
Was it Foreman, or was it one of the sequels to?
I want to say
Joe Frazier.
So that they Rumble in the Jungle?
Was that Zaire? One was Thriller in the Manila. Zaire was Rumble in the Jungle, and then Thriller in the Manila was the Philippines. Then there was the Fight of the Century. I believe was the third fight, the second fight between him and Joe Frazier. So they were yelling to George Foreman, Ali Boumbaye meant kill him, right? They wanted him to kill George. So they went to Zaire. They had this fight. You would think, hey, a relatively modern area of the world. And then this happens after. Mobutu happens after, and 3 million people are killed. That's 10,000% of his population. 10%, not 10,000.
10,000.
10%. I'm not good with. I'm not good with
600 Hitlers.
I'm not good with math. We'll get to Mao in a little bit. And by the way, here's a fun fact: his mistress was the twin sister of his second wife. A little bit of Ilhan Omar action going on there.
Oh, look at that!
Except not as bad, if you can believe it. Hers is straight. It was straight to it was directly her brother. All right. So in these brackets right here, I think Pol Pot definitely moves on. Sorry, Nikolai. Oh, I forgot Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro, everybody's favorite or something.
Don't forget the groovin' Cuban.
Yep, we cannot forget the groovin' Cuban.
Trudeau's favorite.
Yep, Trudeau's favorite. We should play a game: Castro, Trudeau, or Liam Neeson character. It's very hard to tell them apart. Tall for a dictator. First off, let's give credit where it's due. 6'3", 176 pounds. That's not bad. Law school graduate, University of Havana, and of course the Communist Party of Cuba. Now, a lot of people don't know that the way was paid for Castro by all those stupid, dumb T-shirts you wear from Rage Against the Machine, Che Guevara. So people say he was a revolutionary man, but the revolution led to what? Well, of course, led to what we have with Fidel Castro. Cuba, at one point in time, was a very, very wealthy nation, and then, of course, was just driven into abject poverty. Not saying Batista was great, to be clear, before people say this. He basically turned Cuba into a prison. Pretty much the island of Cuba became a prison. He started, actually, as far as his accomplishments, largest snitch network in the world, where he had the committees for the defense of the revolution. I guess 8.4 million of the 11 million Cubans were members. And this was one big giant snitching network, right, George?
Yes. That would be a good way to describe it.
Yeah, tattletales. And nobody likes him. He sent Cuban soldiers into the Cold War conflicts. Obviously, not a huge necessarily body count, to be clear. Fidel Castro, it's a little bit tough to track because the nation was just driven into absolute poverty. And that would lead to more deaths than you would actually have. Directly, 11,000 though, right? I think is what's attributed to Fidel Castro is 11,000, which is 0.1%. That doesn't even show up on the U scale.
No.
Something else, though, that is some interesting things. He first off, he fathered Justin Trudeau, and he survived 600 assassination attempts. Wow. Castro, and this is a perfect example of Castro and Cuba, of what communism is. It's really like, and let me use the analogy, and women, before you get mad, it's like a woman having a breast reduction.
No.
It's like slapping God in the face. That's my point. Yeah. So what you have with Cuba is you have really sort of the birthplace of the modern tobacco trade, right? You hear people talk about Cuban cigars. This is a good example of what communism does. Cuban cigars at one point in time, they would be the best in the world. It would make sense. There's something in the soil that can't be recreated. I believe some people say it's the lithium content. There is a flavor that is unique to Cuban cigars.
It's the blood.
It could be. What was that, Nick?
It's political prisoner bone dust.
It could be. It could be the marrow.
Yes.
That would lead to a higher, I believe, cadmium content. I don't know. I'm not a mineralogist, if that's a term. But the cigars have a very specific taste. So people, they would seek out these cigars. Now, what happened is you don't get to keep your crops in Cuba of Cuban cigars. As a matter of fact, you're more likely to get a fake cigar in Cuba than you are to get a real Cuban cigar in Cuba. Why? What happens is the government takes over all these tobacco fields. Some farmers are allowed to keep maybe 5 to 10% of their crops. All of these tobacco leaves go into a couple of government-run warehouses, factories. Boom, they roll them out, and now you have your Cuban cigars. And what happens is these cigars, as far as the quality control in comparison to some of the seeds that have been taken to the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua, they're great cigars, but they don't have that same taste as Cuba. But the quality control is leagues better. You buy a box of Cuban cigars, they'll be plugged. You'll have green tobacco because they don't have time to age it properly. They'll develop mold. Some people call it plume. That's a myth too. Plume is just a smaller kind of, it's just a less severe kind of mold. You can brush it off technically, but there's no such thing as cigar plume. That's a myth. It's mold. So, and that's because they don't freeze their tobacco. They flash freeze them in other countries. You look at Cuban cigars, and it's something that should be fantastic. It's an advantage that this nation has, that only this nation has, that can't really be identified or recreated. And they have turned it to crap. Where Nicaragua, the Dominican Republic, and Honduras have taken them over as far as quality of the cigars. You have to work hard to screw that up. It's something that grows, you roll it, and you smoke it. It has to be done by someone who is completely inept. It can only be the byproduct, the destruction of the Cuban cigar trade, really. It could be done no other way outside of communism. And that's what you see with, it's a small example, but it's one that maybe you can understand. Also, Che Guevara was a sadist. He broke down one of the walls in his office so we could watch the firing squad at work, hated black people, and shot handicaps and gays. So enjoy your T-shirts, you pricks. Let's...
Killing in the name of.
Yes, exactly. I love how he rages against the machine and then endorsed Biden.
That is gay.
Brevity is the soul of wit, mein Führer. So Pol Pot moves on, for sure. Let's move on, Pol Pot. And Fidel Castro is going to make it into the final 8.
Well, the Africans going out in the first round.
I mean, look, they have to step up their game. Africa, I get it's a continent. Not the best. Sheer brutality, maybe.
Well, if we're looking at genocide specifically and not dictators, they might
be up there.
Yeah, if this was March Madness, different story.
I kind of feel like this is just whatever month this is madness at this point. Okay, final 2 brackets: Kim Jong-il, Hugo Chavez, Ferdinand Marcos, and Papa Doc Duvalier. So the first one is Kim Jong-il and Hugo Chavez. And then the second bracket is Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines and Papa Doc of Haiti. Again, I believe the betting lines are changing as we've narrowed this down. Papa Doc is now only a plus 1,100.
He went from 1,600 to 1,100.
1,100. So it's still an underdog. But yes. you make some good. You get a good return on your money.
You got live odds. That's unbelievable.
We do. Yeah. Well, draftdictator.com. It's for all your dictator betting needs. Ferdinand Marcos. Hey, Ginger Snap, why don't you help me with this one because you like Asians.
I will.
And I'm not as familiar with Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines.
Yeah, he wasn't the worst, Mm-hmm. Kind of improved the economy. He's still a hero to a lot of the older Filipinos there.
It's an accomplishment at 5'6".
He's one of those he has a weird legacy, sort of like Pinochet in Chile, right?
Okay.
Where he was very brutal with his opposition, but he was also seen by a lot of Filipinos as improving the economy and the stature of the country. But he was very interesting in his younger life. Mm-hmm. So he was a marksman.
Okay.
And at age 18, he actually allegedly assassinated his father's political opponent with a .22.
Really?
Then, after being in jail for less than a year, got himself out, got the conviction overturned in the Philippine Supreme Court after writing his own 800-page appeal.
Wow.
So I don't know how much of that was formulated by people higher ups, but it seems like he was
probably all of it.
He was
probably all of it.
I just feel like he was destined for great things.
Yeah, he was destined for great things. Got a law degree from University of the Philippines, which is less than the University of Phoenix Online. Accomplishments, yep, there you go. You listed those. He stole $10 billion from the country, though. So all I know is that he stole a lot of money from the country.
Yeah, he did.
And his bitch loved her shoes.
That is true. A lot.
I think it was Nick who was talking 3,000 pairs of shoes, right?
That is correct.
3,000 pairs of shoes.
3,000.
To be fair, 2,000 of them, they were BOGO at Payless. So
None
do
of
with
them were
that.
sensible lesbian shoes. They had the heel on them and everything.
The body
BOGO,
count.
is that bring one, gas one?
Yeah.
I think they had that sale at Payless.
Yeah.
Is it a shoe store? We had lots of extra shoes.
Yeah.
Baby shoes.
Little known fact.
Yeah, no, it's a well-known fact, actually.
No.
It's a well-known fact. That's why everyone's horrified. The body
Jeez.
count. Please stop. The body
good
count.
Whoops.
Hitler bad.
Hitler good.
3,200 when we're talking about Ferdinand. 3,200, that's not that much. That's 0.007%. So I don't even know why he's on this list, to be honest. Because we needed a round number?
You know, it's like you got the top 10 dictators, and filling out 6 more, you're just kind of picking and playing.
Right. I don't know how much. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know much else other than the shoes.
Well, that's it. He had a wife who spent like that on shoes, and he didn't kill her. So,
Yeah. She must have had some dirt on him.
oh my!
If you think about it, she had access to whatever early version of the cloud.
His son is the current president of the Philippines right now.
And apparently he's not doing a bad job from what I
People
hear.
like him, especially he's super friendly to America, very anti-China. So, you know, it's not like Marcos left a terrible legacy for us.
Yeah, well, and also Manny Pacquiao is a representative there, even though I believe he's illiterate. So,
Isn't that Floyd Mayweather?
both of them, both of them. They were making fun of each other, like, "You're illiterate." Like, "No, you're illiterate." And it's like, just fight.
What's illiterate mean?
Yeah.
Can't read.
Apparently it means you could be a dictator.
Yes, apparently it does mean you can be a dictator with a very, very long name. Papa Doc is in the bracket. Papa Doc is in the bracket of Ferdinand Marcos. Now, you may not know this, but Papa Doc Duvalier is hilarious. And what I mean, horrible person, just like Hitler bad. But he was his official title, I guess, is the incorruptible leader of the great majority of the Haitian people, the renovator of the Republic. Now, I'm going to tell you, just that title is bullshit. He was completely corruptible. It's almost what happened first. The reason this guy is so funny to me is he's useless. Yes. And he sort of got to, he benefited from, I guess, the umbrella policy because the United States was more concerned with Cuba at that time and wanted some allies in the region. So we sort of gave him a little bit of a pass, the United States, at that point. We knew some stuff was going on, but Haiti's never really been a threat to anybody. We thought if that's contained, it's maybe better to have some kind of a physical ally in that region. Apparently, he was a physician. I don't believe it. The political party was the National Unity Party, which doesn't really mean anything. Of course, he repressed his people. He stole from them. He invested heavily into his secret police force. The body count is estimated at 60,000. Okay. So that's 1.4% of the population. So that's, a third of a Hitler. But here's what's pretty interesting about him is, the large portion of the Haitian population are completely illiterate. So he knew that. And Papa Doc is actually, it comes from voodoo, is effectively like their Grim Reaper. You've seen that face with the skeleton, right, in the graveyards, like if you actually, like New Orleans.
Kathy Griffin.
Yes, that's Papa Doc, right? So they started calling him Papa Doc. He didn't believe in the voodoo stuff, but a lot of people in Haiti did. So he would use that to manipulate them. He would actually he'd tell some of his guards, and he knew that the word would travel. He'd say, "Hey," and he'd grab like some kind of a skull candle and some chicken bones and say, I'm going to go in my room here. I'm going to go in this official office, close the door, no one come in. I have a seance to conduct. And he'd go in and they'd be like, "Oh, Papa Doc is calling down the gods. We better not vote against him." And he was in there like smoking a cigarette. He's like, "How long I got to do this?" That's what he would do. He would just mess with them. He didn't believe it at all. They were calling him Papa Doc, and he kind of played it coy early on. That's, effectively a deity, the bringer of death, for whom you'd trade Brittany Griner. And he was like, no, I'm not Papa Doc. I'm not Papa Doc. And then he was like, no, I'm not Papa Doc. Then he would go on radio broadcasts. He would issue his national radio, news alert, whatever it was, from your dear Supreme Leader, whatever his stupid made-up title was. And he would talk like Papa Doc while claiming that he wasn't initially, because Papa Doc allegedly talks like this. So he would go out there and be like, "I am your dear leader, here today with the news update. Like, oh, we know it was Papa Doc. And so they thought he couldn't be removed from power. His reign was largely based on superstition and ignorance. And that's funny to me.
Yeah,
He controlled an entire nation with children's tales.
Staunch U.S. ally.
Staunch U.S. ally. And we're like, well, it is not Cuba. He had his own, that's right. He had his own Lord's Prayer. And by the way, Haiti is a French colony, so I'm translating here, but this is the Papa Doc prayer. Is our Doc, who art in the national palace for life, hallowed be thy name by present and future generations. Thy will be done at Port-au-Prince.
You're kidding, right?
Thy will sucks.
Is that real?
It's real. I just killed the monitor. Are we okay? Does it matter? Did I just hit something? Oh. All right. Sorry, I got to read this. Thy will be done at Port-au-Prince and in the provinces. Give us this day our new Haiti and never forgive the trespasses.
Oh my God.
Of the anti-patriots who spit every day on our country. Let them succumb to temptation, and under the weight of their venom, deliver them not from any evil.
Oh my God, he's a guitar act.
People said that shit all across Haiti.
I know who I
Right
want
before
to
they
win
eat
this
the
thing.
dinner.
Those odds just put the 600 to 1 right there.
Oh my God.
Thy will be done at Port-au-Prince. So, Papa Doc. All right. With this one, we're going to have to let Papa Doc. Well, I forgot Hugo Chavez. I'm just going to let you know Papa Doc's going through.
Yes. He earned it with that one.
He's going to have to go through.
He had the first HBO special, too. People think it's Robert Klein. It was Papa Doc.
This is dirt cookie jam.
They look a lot like pancakes or cookies. The recipe passed down from generations here in Haiti. Women spend entire days making them. Grandmothers, daughters, and younger girls. Infants are nursed while mothers work the mix. Kids seem to enjoy them, at least when our camera was around. But these patties, known as bonbon terres by the Haitians who eat them, are a grim reminder of just how poor this Caribbean nation is. They aren't sweet, they're hard to swallow, and add almost nothing in terms of nutrition, because the cookies are actually made of dirt.
Oh my God.
That's where parody law comes from.
I just can't believe it. People bought that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Haiti.
You're stupid. Always have been, always will be.
That will be done at Port-au-Prince.
What's communion? Is it those dirt cookies?
I think that's what
Well, they took the take from my body very literally.
wash it down with his drain water.
Mother Mary full of duck.
All right. Now we have Kim Jong-il. I think we have to break this up into 3 episodes.
I think that's fine.
Okay,
This
all right.
is, I think this is getting a lot
All right.
of valuable content.
3 years.
I just don't know what we're going to do when we get to the brackets because we have to. How are we going to educate people more? Should we just provide like a documentary then at that point with each one?
Yeah.
Let's find one. Just upload it. Sorry, History
I
Channel.
say more costumes.
Yes. Yes. Kim Jong-il, dear leader, supreme leader Kim Jong-il in this bracket with Hugo Chavez. Here's the thing. You do have to kind of appreciate that they kept it in the family, the Jongs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good plan.
His father was Kim Il-sung, and then, of course, his son was Kim Jong-un. And I feel like the most interesting thing about the Kims, I guess I do the first name last, is the progressively aggressive hairdos. So, like, if you look at his dad, like, Kim Il-sung, he had a little, like, what would be sort of more so seen as, all right, you go into a bar, he's maybe a little bit eccentric. He's giving you a high and tight. Then you go to Kim Jong-il, and he obviously had to outdo his dad. He's grown up in his shadow, so he's like, I'm going to go really tight on the sides.
Blow it out
at this point and blow it out a little bit. Like, he wants people to think he had a deep perm for some reason. And then Kim Jong-il came in, and he really, like, he was absolutely a loser. So he was just like, I'm going to take it. He was like, fuck it, I'm going to take it all off. Everything on the side. It looked like a Korean house party. And it just, you look at it, it just progressively got sillier and sillier. And you usually don't get to be a dictator when you look that dumb.
Kim in play.
I like that haircut. Like you would call it a lesbian? We would call it a lickins and no dickins.
Okay. I don't think that's what you call it. Something's lost in translation. His now he went to Kim Il Sung University in Pyongyang. Was it his son who was educated in
Kim
Switzerland?
Jong Un went to Switzerland. Him and Kim Yo Jong, his sister, both were educated.
Here's what I don't understand with that, and I know we're supposed to be educating UN dictators, but just indulge me here for a second. If you went to Switzerland, why did they let him out?
Oh, they didn't know.
They didn't know who he was.
Oh, they didn't know who he was?
The Swiss didn't know who he was.
The Swiss didn't know who he was? They had no
Fake
idea.
passports. I believe he was under a Singaporean passport. I don't know what his alias was, but he was
fake boobs.
He was not there as Kim Jong Un.
I was going to say, what, he passed the eyeball test?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Out like a sore chicken finger. Anyway.
So accomplishments. In the 1990s, the food distribution system failed. Of course, massive famine. He withdrew North Korea from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and he oversaw the development of North Korea's first nuclear weapon. And what else? He has 3 classes of citizens, by the way, Kim Jong-il: loyal, wavering, and hostile.
Oh my God.
So I'm willing to bet they spend most of their time on the wavering. It's like that undecided vote here in the United States.
And it's very hard to isolate him because the policies are so continuous between his father and his son. That's kind of the Kims, but he oversaw the most death of any of them, so that's why we thought he was the appropriate one to put in.
It's tough. It's keeping up with the
dictator. What were the 3 categories?
It was
code red, code yellow, and code orange.
Yes, it was.
Those are Mountain Dews.
It was loyal. there were 3.
You broke.
There were 3 classes of citizens: loyal, wavering, and hostile.
Like cowboy fans.
Yes. And he actually, again, has convinced a lot of his people that he's a deity, kind of like Papa Doc. Where like Kim Jong, they make up this stuff like, oh, in his first game of golf, he got 11 holes in one. They're like, did you say this? And people are like, oh.
It was a 9-hole. It was a 9-hole course.
It was a 9-hole course. Things like that, where they convince people that they're a deity or
Putin
that they're all
too.
powerful.
They do that with Putin.
They do it with all these people, but this is really silly. And when you actually read up a little more on North Korea, I sort of thought when Kim Jong-un died and everyone was crying in the streets, I thought the whole nation deserved a Razzie. Turns out, some of them were actually sad.
Right. So when Kim Il Sung died, the original, people were actually pretty sad about it because they did view him as a deity. With Kim Jong-il, there was a lot more razzying going on.
You think so?
Yes.
There, some women in uniform were breaking down as a giant poster of Kim Jong-il rolled along, leading the funeral procession. The scenes of mass grief were displayed across the North Korean capital as the cortege drove through the streets heading for the square named for his father and the country's founder, Kim Il-sung. People wailed and screamed and beat their chests as the cars passed by. Lamentations were loud as the cars circled the square twice in their first pass around the city center.
Yeah, it looked like they were, because it's really tough because if you have to force your population to act sad when you die, and it's an entire population that can't act.
The South Koreans, on the other hand,
it's like a Seth Meyers
dramas.
You don't want to be wavering, Stephen.
So no, I don't want to be wavering. That's that undecided vote. That's their swing state, is the wavering. You think he shows up door to door with the waver, like, hi, I hear you were wavering. What can I do to ensure your vote doesn't matter? Joe, I'll kill you. 3 million body count during the Korean famine.
Which is pretty good considering the population.
I mean, pretty, depending how you look at it, good or bad.
Well,
effective.
Accomplished.
Effective. It's an accomplishment. It's effective.
It's all right for famine.
Yeah, you could do more damage with famine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, if you got rid of Funyuns, you'd take out a couple million streamers right now on Twitch. Over 100,000 were in prison in gulags, so 13% as far as the number of his population. So it's still pretty. You don't even think about that because you were most likely alive for Kim Jong-il. We put him in Team America, World Police, and it was hilarious. And it's two Hitlers. Two Hitlers as far as percent of the population. So imagine if when World War II was going on, you had a film like and you had just had Hitler in there as a puppet. People were mocking him. That's really what you're doing at this point in time. It's just that you're so isolated from it. You're not aware of what takes place in the world today, in which you live. What else do we have? He was a big movie fan. Some fun trivia. He had 30,000 films in his personal collection. Not a one of them North Korean, I'm willing to bet. And also says he was a big fan of Gene Shalit.
Is that a Juden?
This summer is a famine for good comedies.
We're starving for laughter.
That stupid mustache.
Anything I'm missing?
No.
All right.
I mean, I will say where he deserves a lot of. The choice of words here is very difficult.
There's no good way. Have you seen what we've done here today?
Well, yeah. Hi, Hitler.
Yeah.
Did you say hi or Heil?
He said hi.
Hi.
Oh.
Hi.
Yeah, let's go with salutation. Stop.
Hello.
Hands down.
Please.
But he did oversee the development of a nuclear program, which they still have, and that is the reason that they can exist as this lineage of dictators. And so,
freaking great.
I mean, it's not good for anybody else.
No.
Yeah.
But, he has the power to up those. He gave Kim the power to up those numbers real quick.
Yeah. It's like a couple Roman candles and some black cats. Great job.
Well,
one more thing.
Yeah.
5'3". Why are we overlooking this? I mean,
that's a
we
giant.
always overlook the 5'3", man. He's down there.
Oh, I wouldn't talk. So in
Tiny
North Korea,
man.
that's very large.
Well, yeah. And take it back.
He's the Goliath of North Korea. That's actually good. That's another good example.
They don't need to eat a lot. They're small.
Well, he does. Only he does.
He eats a lot.
He just got fat. Again, like at some point, just kill your dictators and eat them. Just start doing that.
Yeah, wait, what?
No, it's okay. You're fine. You made it through.
Anybody threatens to kill him, he straps him to the front of an anti-aircraft gun and blows them into.
I know. But my point is, they can't catch you all. If you just storm him, he's fat. He can't run away.
True.
I mean, not him, but Kim Jong-un is even fatter.
Fatter.
They got progressively fatter.
We thought he died for a long time because he just disappeared.
Yeah.
Thought he had a heart attack and kicked the bucket.
And then he came out and he just has to exaggerate. He can't just say like, no, I'm okay. Like, I'm in the best health ever.
No, he was just at the Golden Corral.
It's gonna
Have
be
you
way
tried
worse if his
lasagna?
sister
It's my
takes over
favorite.
The country, though.
Yeah, it is going to be worse because she's a woman. So, but that's it. I really do believe in the laws of contrast. That's really important. These things don't exist in a vacuum. North Korea. Could there be a South Korea? Of course. And you can actually look at not only the technological advancements, not only the economies, not only look at the quality of life, you can even look at the size of the people and the stunted growth from the starvation that takes place in North Korea. There isn't really a reason for that separation to exist other than ideology. So when people tell you religion is the cause of all wars, hold on a second, or religion is the cause of all major deaths, you can look to a lot of these nations. And if you have a comparison, that's really valuable. And human beings, we always, just like pictures, we look for something in the picture for scale, right? That's how optical illusions can take place if you don't have something that's appropriate. And this brings us to, also in this bracket, Chavez. And this one is interesting to me because Chavez, or sorry, as Sean Penn refers to him, a great world leader.
Hugo.
Yes, Hugo Chavez.
Hugo.
I shouldn't be saying Hugo.
I don't know.
Did I mess? I'm sorry to have offended the sensibilities of dictators.
Well, there's no H in Spanish, Stephen, so you have to be culturally sensitive to these types of.
I don't give a shit.
Shut up, Jew.
All of you,
He said shut up you. He said shut up you. He was saying you need to shut up, Sam from HR.
That's not what I heard.
Hugo.
Hugo. Hugo?
Hugo.
Hugo.
Let's go with
Hugo. That was the latest, wasn't that the Scorsese film? Hugo, the kids movie with the clock?
I thought that was a Spielberg film.
Was it Spielberg?
I don't know. They both kind of suck.
I don't know. The point is,
I thought it was Tarantino.
Venezuela. So Venezuela, I don't know if it is, I think it's the most oil-rich nation in South America. Is it, as far as square land miles, is it actually the most oil-rich nation in the world?
They have more oil reserves on their territory than any other country in the world.
Than any other country. Okay. I wanted to make sure that I was getting that correct. I knew in South America, but there's no reason that Venezuela should be poor. There's no reason that there should be bread lines. A good example is in stateside. There should be no reason for California to see a population decline when they have all kinds of natural resources, the ocean, you can grow anything there. They were starting off, they had a head start as far as people are leaving because of policy, because of ideas. Venezuela is a place that should be wealthy. You have to try hard to screw it up. And don't just gloss over this. American leftists have been propping up Chavez and praising him. They want to distance themselves from Chavez now. But you had Sean Penn, you had Bernie Sanders, you had a long list of celebrities of people saying, yeah, no, Chavez is being misrepresented in the United States. Well, now they've just sort of gone to radio silence. So Chavez attended Venezuelan Military Academy, United Socialist Party of Venezuela. Oh, that might be why. That might be why.
Is that a right-wing thing?
Yeah, it's another right-wing thing. Socialism, of course, as far as his accomplishments, he turned Venezuela, again, beforehand, the scale, from a near first world country to an entirely third world country. And of course, that was carried on. Now, you saw it then afterwards with Maduro. The oil wealth that existed there, of course, has been completely squandered. I believe that he nationalized all of them, or to one degree. It was sort of a multifaceted approach. I think it took place kind of in some steps. He subsidized the oil exports to countries like Cuba. And then, of course, their strategic reserves shrank and the government debt doubled. Wow. That's pretty bad. You have to try really hard to do that in a place like Venezuela.
Unbelievable.
You think about it, the whole world is fighting for long periods over oil, over energy, over resources. They have it, and they squander all of it. And of course, none of the money actually goes to the people. The money always ends up going to those in power. Hey, congratulations, socialism, communism. And it's very important. Same thing if you look back at Cuba. You had people who view themselves as counterculturalists, revolutionaries, right? The left supported Cuba. The United States, they thought Castro was great. That you still see people wearing Che Guevara on T-shirts. And then you see, even to this day, let's talk about within the last decade, Sean Penn, Bernie Sanders, people praising Chavez. They only put distance between themselves and these dictators once it's so undeniable that they have egg on their face. But make no mistake, they would like to see these policies to one degree or another implemented here in the United States. Body count, at least 100,000, that's 0.3% of the population. So it's not, those are kind of small numbers in comparison to Hitler. Here's some trivia. Since 2012, there are Chavez Eyes murals that actually still exist everywhere to show people that he is still watching. Did you know that? He's still watching. Why do you find that
It's like, why didn't I think of that? That was such a good idea. Mein Gott.
And kind of going back to Pinochet, who was part of a coup. This is the rule in South America. This is how Chavez, it was 1992, there was the coup against then president, it was Perez. And I guess at that point, Chavez participated. He failed in that coup. And then
straight to jail.
Then straight to jail, released in 95. Then he ended up becoming, was his title officially president? I'm trying to, it's hard for me to keep track. And then the elections, remember, that were held after, and of course they weren't real elections, right? These were just got 100% of the vote. I'm exaggerating. We'll make all of the references publicly available. You know, all the things they accuse Donald Trump of wanting to do, of never relinquish power, while they praise dictators who do it throughout the globe. That's Chavez.
And what you saw with him and what you saw with people like Mao and all these communist socialist leaders is they start drinking their own Kool-Aid, thinking, oh, well, maybe I really do know everything. Let me set the agricultural policy. Let me fire all the engineers that work for our state oil company so we don't know how to get the oil anymore. Right. Great idea.
Yeah.
Bunch of dumbasses, man.
They start drinking their own, or Papadoc, his own piss.
Idi Amin.
Mobutu, I don't know what he drank.
Communion wine.
Delicious.
He probably drank protein shakes. He was 225.
That's true.
Big man.
Delicious.
Big man. Probably some optimum nutrition whey. So, I think we know Papadoc is going through, absolutely. Yeah. But of Chavez and Kim Jong-il, who do we think should move on to our final 8?
I got to put Kim in there.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like Chavez just because Chavez, we have more afterwards, it makes the way for Maduro. As far as it might be more interesting in the final 8, whereas we all know it's just Kim Jong-il goes to Kim Jong-un and they're both crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. You could flip a coin on this one. I think it's a 49-51 match. Maybe we'll have to go to Hitler for...
Yeah.
Hitler's got the.
I would go if it's a lady hair.
Yeah. And what's your reasoning for that?
Oh, I just like his smile.
Yeah, you like the smile?
Yeah, it's good teeth.
Yeah, okay. And
And he's got 4 eyes.
yes, he does. You know what?
He's got eyes everywhere, but he's had 4 on his face.
All right, you know what?
Yeah.
You've had a rough day. Let's give you Kim Jong Il. Let's let Hitler.
$1 million dead.
Yeah, you know what? Let's let Hitler make.
13% of the population.
That's a big population percentage.
That's the first round right there.
That is the first round. I think we were planning on doing this in 2 installments, but we've got to do this likely in 3. So, okay.
I'd say quarterly.
Gonna run out of dictators, but they'll keep propping up.
Oh, yeah.
Popping up, and we'll be propping them up, depending on who they are. So that's been, we didn't go through the Ayatollah Khomeini, but let's be honest, he's not going anywhere. Mao Zedong, Idi Amin, Joseph Stalin, Pinochet. Well, who do we have left? Wait, what's the final bracket? That's right. We have Mao, Ayatollah,
Sean Penn,
Stalin, Saddam, Pol Pot, Fidel, Hugo Chavez, Kim Jong-il, and Papa Doc.
That's going to be a hell of a second round match.
Those are our final 8.
Yeah.
And I think we're just going to have to make our way through the 8 pretty quickly to get to the 4, the semifinals.
There'll be much more debate.
Yes, there'll be much more debate.
Yes.
And by that, I mean they're all bad.
We can probably just start here with this matchup.
Yep, we can start with this matchup. So tune in. I believe we'll probably be doing this tomorrow. I'm assuming.
Yep.
We'll be continuing this. So this is the Great Dictator Dic-Off. We are going to see you as we continue through this, and comment below because we'll be taking your feedback here. Again, you can go to draftdictators.com. The Papa Doc betting line, I believe, is now just a plus 900. Wow. I'm not going to dark horse, absolutely.
Well, yeah, he advanced, so
he did advance. So the odds have changed. Let us know who you think the worst dictator is, and who did you learn about before today, and who would you like to learn more about tomorrow or the next day, however long this goes. Thank you to our wonderful researchers. Mein Führer, I guess. There's no good way. Just play us out. Join Mug Club today for $89 annually or try it mugless for $9 a month. You can sign up at ladderwithcredit.com/mugclub for the entire catalog, including Nick DiPaolo, Brian Callen, the Hodge Twins, Mr. Guns and Gear, and of course, Alex Jones, along with 100% more of this show.